Hi, this is Rob Woodhouse from GOLDSNARE. Today we're going to be out on the river with the GOLDSNARE 1-inch mini gold dredge. It's a simple 12-volt bilge pump powered mini handheld gold dredge, and works extremely well. Very portable. Breaks down into 3 pieces. We have a 16-inch hose and nozzle. We have a jet. It's driven by the bilge pump. Special jetting inside the jet itself makes for 8 separate apertures. So it's got 8 jets focusing the energy and providing the suction we need. Unit breaks down very simply. Sluice box comes off. Had a couple questions from people as they slid this into the sluice box. They've gone too far and basically came up against the baffle. But to put it together, you basically want to go with it. The depth of the neck, slide it in, lock it in place, and you're ready to go. Very good on recovery. And the reason for this is it's different than any other submersibles previously built out there. We use a series of baffles called sluice gates. And as material enters, we hit the first sluice gate, and it acts like a header box. It breaks up the material and it sends it underneath. The second sluice gate acts much of the way you would have a riffle, making a vortex down below to help pull down material and work that material and collect the gold. And so we're not looking to capture material up in here. What we're looking to do is use some of that energy as material and the water flow is going through, and it's going to create a vortex up in the upper part. And what this does is the water comes down, and as material is passing through, it throws material and it sends it to the bottom into the mat, where we're actively going to work that material and collect the gold. And as it comes back, we have that pattern that lifts up. So we're using a pattern of sending material down to the mat and then lifting it back up. This helps take gold that's in suspension, especially your fine gold that's in suspension, and sends it down to the mat area where it can be worked by the individual riffles in the mat. So recovery is high 90s. It is extremely good working little machine, being so small and portable. We're going to be using it on a stream here in Maine. We're going to be setting up and showing you how best to utilize this. It's really it's a 1-inch dredge. It's a crack and crevice cleaner. Helps clean off bedrock and can help just process material. So we're going to just cover a few points of that today and show you working on how it operates. We've got some ledge on some nice bedrock here, and we've got a crack that runs about 4 feet long from this edge all the way over here. We've got some overburden on it. Best way to go about this is to take your 1/2-inch classifier, 5-gallon bucket, and remove as much of this material as you can by hand. If you sat there trying to use a 1-inch dredge and pick away every individual rock as you're working, you can do it, but it would take about 10 times longer. So our goal is to get down into that crack. So we want to move material, what material that's loose that we can, Okay, that's the start. We have, well, I didn't get as deep. We don't seem to have a nice crack between the bedrock. It's more of just a depression. But we'll go through and process it and see if anything's down in there. Got about half of a 5-gallon bucket worth of material, and we'll show you once we're done processing in here how we can further process that material straight out of the bucket. Okay, we're going to start working the material with the mini dredge. We're simply going to move our nozzle into position and start processing some of that material. Got a crevice tool that we'll use to clean out any cracks. Scratch those cracks good. See if we've got any gold hidden in there. Okay, we've dug out some more area. We've gotten about 3/4 full of a bucket of material. I'm just going to show you how we can just simply take the bucket, tip it down in the water, and we're going to process material. Put the dredge underwater, bilge pump underwater, let the air out. If you can see, that's hard to see them because the speed of the material being pulled up through the hose is quite fast. Runs about 6 feet per second. So we can, the most important thing is to find a comfortable spot to sit and just work the material out of the bucket. You want to keep the nozzle back a little bit from the material. Just let the draw of water pull the material in. If you just jam the nozzle directly into the material, what's generally going to happen is you'll get a multitude of little individual rocks that will stick together and plug the nozzle. But classifying down to 1/2 inch, generally you don't get a plug. Just hold off a little bit and let the material just get pulled through. See if we can pan a little bit to the tailings. You can see the material getting processed out the machine. And building up a little pile behind it. So you only need about 4 inches of water to work this. It's nice because it becomes a nice tool to bring out if you just want to do some sampling also. You want to put your material into a 5-gallon bucket, and if you have as long as you have water, you don't need a running stream. So it's kind of like a little power sluice in a way, the palm of your hand. And if you've got 2 people working and one's, classifying into a bucket and the other one simply wants to run the material, you can go pretty quick. About the time it takes to classify a bucket down, about the same time it takes to run it through the machine. 5-gallon bucket worth of material down to nothing in no time. I'm going to back the camera up a little bit, and we'll do a quick clean out and show you how it looks, if we got anything so far. Okay, to do a clean out, it's very simple. You have the mini dredge. There's a mat inside, and we've got a wire wrap that wraps around underneath the mat. And the mat sits inside these edges, and these little edges and the back also help hold material in there. So in a way of having like a nugget trap, it keeps anything that's in there basically sliding on out, any of your heavies. So to get at that mat, all you have to do is pull on this little tab. It helps release the mat from inside that inner edge. You can grasp that with your fingers, usually a little turn. It'll pull the other edge out. And we can do this in a pan, or we can do it in a bucket. So it's always easier to do it in a bucket, so all we have to do is just pull that mat out. And dip the machine in. Take a look, make sure nothing's in there. Looking good. The mat is a finger mat with some areas that don't have fingers in them, and it makes a beautiful drop ripple. It's a nice exchanging vortex drop ripple. The little fingers, these are very small fingers, and they work like a miner's moss. They really help fine gold to settle down in between them and capture and hold them. So it's usually just a quick back roll. Open up those fingers. Material comes off very quickly. Easy to see it. To reinstall it, what we do is we roll it. And we have our wire wrap in place, and we simply slide it in. And once we release it, it's going to fold back out underneath the tabs on the back, and you want to look up inside there and make sure that it's evenly spaced on both sides. Sometimes a little push with your thumb a little bit or pull, and you can make sure that that mat is nice and even, rolled out to both edges, same amount of space on either side, and you're ready to go for our next run. Now set that aside. See if we got anything. Empty our 5-gallon bucket into our pan. This particular river doesn't have a lot of heavies, so not a lot in the way of black sand. Even though we find some okay gold in here. So if you don't see a lot of black sand, don't be surprised. In fact, on this particular location, we don't see a lot of gold. We're not going to be surprised either. That really wasn't a good crack to work, but it's a nice spot to do a demonstration. So we're just going to settle that material right on the 2 different angles as we come in from the pan. Try to get it right down that lowest spot. We'll wash off. I've got a technique I use, something I kind of worked on when I did a hundreds of pans, seem like hundreds a day, in the development of this and testing for recovery. And simply is, once you get it down to a certain point, I'm going to use the ridges in that pan. I'm going to do very little front to back motion, almost none. Some side to side motion, and that releases the lights to the top and helps settle the heavies to the bottom. So very, very carefully, I'm just going to back and forth, and I'm going to walk the lights off. And every now and again, we'll just reset that. This kind of allows me to use those ridges, even in the final stages. I might stop and shake it a little bit, and I'll get those lights to the top without having any action coming off the front of the pan, and then tip it down a little bit and have those lights just walk on off the top. So, I'll take a quick back pan. Actually got one piece. Oh, never mind. Thought it showed up and I missed it. Okay, I want to continue looking. We're going to find some gold today. So stay tuned. Okay, for about the last hour, the rock I was sitting on earlier that did some panning out on, just behind it was some material, only a few inches above the ground. I've actually dug out. We have a shelf dropped off underneath the edge of that rock. So we cleaned that down about as long as my arms will go, about 2 feet. The bedrock has a shelf under there, and we were able to get down to that and clean everything off. We'll take a quick look underwater. So now we're going to clean out the machine again and see if we got anything out of that. And there's our gold for the day.